If you want to eliminate three putts, you've got to learn to control speed and distance. But the way a lot of people approach controlling speed and distance is very mechanical, like we're robots. You're not a robot, which means if you really want to control speed and distance, you also have to develop a feel for speed and distance. Yeah, mechanics are important, but feel is equally important. And in this video, I'm going to give you 5 tips to help you develop a rock solid feel for managing speed and distance on the golf course. And you want to stick around for number 5 because not only is it incredibly unique, something you've never seen or heard before, it's also the technique that I use to manage speed and distance consistently on up and downhill putts. All right, let's start out with a way to work on your speed and distance control from 10 to 40 feet. Here's what I want you to do. Go out on the practice green, start at the fringe, and get 30 feet from the fringe, and then put down 2 alignment sticks like I have here. Then back up from the alignment sticks another 10 feet, put a tee in the ground so you have a marker for where you're putting from, and put down 10 balls. Now your goal is to put those balls past the alignment sticks and progressively farther and farther, but to get all 10 of them between the alignment sticks and the fringe. And if you need to put balls over to the side while you're doing this drill so you won't hit them, that's perfectly fine. And in fact, that's probably better because it gives you a feel like what you're doing on the golf course. You don't stand in one place and make the same putt. But to complete this, you got to hit your first putt at least 10 feet, but not much further than that because you want room to put 9 more balls between that first putt and the fringe. Once you've done that, you pick those balls up and start over again. Try to go the 40-footer all the way to the fringe and put the next 9 balls between the fringe, that first putt, and the alignment rods. Work on that. It will really help you develop a feel for distance. This is a ladder drill, but it gives you a feel for what it means to step up a little bit in distance and to step down a little bit in distance. Now let's talk about getting a feel in your hands and your eyes and an overall feel for distance. That's the second drill. Go out on the practice green, get about 20 feet. That's 7, 8, 9, depends on how long your stride is, but somewhere between 7 and 10 steps away from the hole. Take 4 balls. The first ball, you throw it at the hole. Second ball, you try to hit it to the hole, but only with your left hand, just one-handed. Third ball, you try to roll it to the hole with just one hand on the putter, your right hand. And then you do it with both hands on the putter. What you're trying to do is get all of them to the hole and approximately the same exact distance. You'll notice here I made the one that I threw, made the one that I rolled with both hands. The other 2, right-handed only, left-handed only, both missed, but they went exactly the same distance. Now let's talk about a tip that's used by one of the most focused golfers on the PGA Tour these days, and that's Bryson. What he does is he goes out and puts a tee on the practice green, just a single tee, and then he backs up 10 feet or so or 11 feet. You pick your distance. Start at 8 to 10 feet and then work it back all the way so you can do this at 15 or 20 feet. But he puts a tee on the ground, then he sets a ball, and he tries to hit the ball exactly to that tee, that exact distance, so it just barely rolls up and touches that tee. You don't have to focus incredibly on line, but it certainly helps if you do. Try to read, roll the ball the exact distance to that tee, and just tap that tee. I do this a lot of times when I'm getting a feel for the greens. I go out on the practice green and do a modified version of this with 2 balls. I'll take one ball and throw it out, and then I'll drop the next ball from where I rolled that one, and I try to putt that next ball exactly to where it just barely rolls up and touches that first ball. I call this the kiss drill. But putting isn't all about feel in your hands. It's also about a mental awareness of what you're doing to move this putter head and how far you're moving it. If you watch my other videos on this channel about controlling speed and distance, you know I talk a lot about rhythm and tempo. You have a consistent tempo, it's back on one beat, contact the ball on the next beat, back, back, contact. And that's consistent, and then you control the speed and distance by blending that tempo with how far you move the putter. One of the things I see is people don't have any awareness of how far they're moving the putter, and you need to have that awareness. For instance, I see a lot of people who take a small backstroke and then a big through stroke. It looks a little bit like this. And that's not conducive to having a good solid feel. So here's a really simple drill that you control that. And by the way, I'm a big believer that your through stroke should never be longer than your backstroke. 1 to 1, the same distance back and through, that's fine. 2 to 1, back and through is okay. On really long putts, 50, 60 feet or longer, I like to feel like I'm going back 3 and through 1. Now that's a feel. The reality is probably closer to the same amount back and through, or maybe 2 back to 1 through. But here's what I want you to do. This will help you get a feel or a mental awareness for how you're moving the putter. And that's simply set up to a ball, and okay, I'm thinking on this ball, I'm going to go back here and through there. So back and through, that's about a 1 to 1 ratio on this putt. Set up to the ball, take your putter back, and then pause. Now hold it right there. That's what it feels like, which means I'm going to go through to about here, or where I'm set up now, it's toe to toe. But just take it back, pause, and then make the through stroke. But work on that back, through, but take a little pause so you develop a mental awareness of how you're moving this putter head back and through. That feel will shock you almost as much as this next tip, which is absolutely incredible, and it's what I've done to develop speed and distance control and manage the difference in uphill and downhill. And here's number 5. It's a little trick that I use to develop a sense of feel for uphill and downhill putts. And it's a free tool. You just go and find a couple of carpet scraps. You can go to a carpet store, find a neighbor who's changing out their carpet, or how I discovered this was I was changing carpet in a house. And I was going from an older thick pile carpet, and so I saved a little scrap of that, about 5 or 6 foot long, and then I went to a carpet store and got a piece of AstroTurf type carpet. So one that's slow and one that's fast. Put them down in my garage, side by side, marked it off about the same distance, and then I stand up and putt from one end to the other. The thicker carpet is the uphill putt. The thinner, smoother carpet is the downhill putt. And I try to go back and forth, getting a feel for what it's like to roll the ball on the faster one and the slower one. The downhill and the uphill makes a huge difference, and the cool thing is it doesn't require much space, it doesn't require any money, and it really helps you develop a feel for what a 5-6 foot steep uphill putt feels like, and a 5-6 foot steep downhill putt. A little bit of practice, you'll get a really good feel for that. And you can practice it indoors in bad weather, like it's about to storm here in Las Vegas and I got to shut this down and get off the course. But you can practice it when the weather's bad or anywhere, anytime, and it'll make a big difference. The fastest way to eliminate 3 putts is learning to control speed and distance. If you'll do these drills that we talked about today, it'll help you develop a feel for speed and distance. And then if you want to master green reading, starting your putts online, and all the stroke mechanics that go with that feel, check out my online course, How to Putt the Right Way, part of the One Putt Magic putting series. And if you got value out of this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, check out this video on the screen now. And until next time, here's to you making more putts.